My name is Joe Butler. In this speech, I'm going to explain the dangers of the toxic algae bloom that is currently taking over the waters in South Florida. I'll also talk about how this um, algae is different from just regular algae that happens naturally. Um, and I'll also go over how to get rid of it and how to prevent it. So, this algae that has taken over South Florida's waterways is a toxic algae that is caused by um, a lot of the sugarcane farms and orange groves around Lake Okeechobee. And when those farmers use different types of chemicals, it runs off into the lake, um, runs into the lake from streams and all that kind of stuff. And what happens is those chemicals will mix in with the water and mix in with algae that's already there and act as a fertilizer for the algae. Plus, the warm Florida climate continues to speed up that growth of the algae and to where it's uncontrollable. And with those dangerous chemicals that are in the in the fertilizer, that just makes it 10 times worse, and making it a toxic algae. According to the Miami Herald, um, there are bad subspecies that is in that algae that is linked to causing liver and brain disease in humans and animals if they come too close to it. How's it spreading? According to City Lab, the algae spreads by water flow, and basically what that means is Lake Okeechobee is just runs. There's different tides, so to say, and those tides will run in and out of the Everglades, and the Everglades runs down into South Florida, so that water is traveling through Lake Okeechobee down through the Everglades and spreading through all the other waterways throughout South Florida in your more residential type areas. But what really causes it to get out is the Army Corps of Engineers. They have different dams, so to say, built up that control the water flow, and they're just letting this water flow down into South Florida and wherever wants to. How can it be stopped? According to Channel 6 News in Miami, the Florida State Senate actually passed or approved of a plan to create a reservoir in order to collect everything that is like all this toxic contaminated water to run off into a reservoir at the bottom of the lake, go in there, so we wouldn't have to worry about that water getting out. And one of the big things that's a problem with this algae is just how dangerous it really is to the animals and everything that's around the water that uses the water to survive. The CDC, they said to use only a certain amount of fertilizer and just watch what kind of fertilizer you have to try and try and prevent more of this algae spreading. Because just the more fertilizers you use, the worse off it gets, and it's just not a good thing to be having in the waters. In conclusion, this speech, this algae bloom is a huge problem that is threatening the Florida waterways and the animals and plants that call it home. Natural algae, that's okay because it's not toxic. It's part of the ecosystem, It's been there forever. Healthy algae actually creates oxygen for the water, and it helps the fish and all of those other animals that live down there survive. Um, but this toxic algae is also a huge threat to humans. Also, um, it's created a very foul smell, and going back to what I said earlier, with those subspecies that is in the algae, that is causing um, the brain and liver disease, and it also isn't good for your skin if you were if you touch it and get in the water. Um, so, and I've heard cases of this algae spreading down the coastline, so it's even hitting some of the oceans. It's not just fresh water, um, rivers and boat runoff, so it's starting to hit the ocean. Um, but it can be stopped. Just it's going to need some help from the government, but so who knows how that'll go. Um, to approve of like the reservoir they talked of earlier, but they actually have to go through with it, and so that'll help. Just watch what kind of fertilizer is being used, um, and yep, that's my speech. Thank you.